Okay, there we go. All right, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 13, 2016, and I am Eric Wolf, and I serve as the Executive Director of the World Food Travel Association based in Portland, Oregon. And I am excited today because we are talking about Italy, and Italy is a great food destination by anyone's measures for sure. So we'll get to introduce our panelists in just a minute. But I'd like to introduce you to the World Food Travel Association. We are the world's largest authority on food and beverage tourism, and our entire mission is to create economic opportunities where food and beverage meets travel and hospitality. We have a lot of different things that we do, and we hope that you will have check out our website and have a look and see if there's anything that inspires you about what we do. So now today I would like to introduce our panelists. First of all, we have Roberta Garibaldi, and she serves as an ambassador of our association in Italy. She works for the Università di Bergamo in Italy, as well as the East Lombardy Project, which is a region in Italy that received a prestigious award, and she'll tell us about that shortly. We also have Veruska Aconitano. Did I say that right?
Yes, perfect.
And Veruska is a food blogger. She's Italian, but she's living in Dublin, Ireland right now, and so she'll share her knowledge with us shortly. And unfortunately, Lucia had an emergency, was not able to join us today, so we won't be hearing about the Strada della Franciacorta. And then we also have Harold Partain, based in Dallas, Texas, and Harold runs Epicopia Journeys, which is a food tour operator based here in the United States. Hello, Harold.
Hey, how are y'all?
We're good, thank you. So first, I would like to set the tone for the talk today from our ambassador. Sorry, I should just preface this all by saying I'm a little out of sorts because I'm visiting our board chairman, Brian Lord, here in Chicago, and I'm in his home office. There's Brian. Say hi, Brian.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm on a Mac, so I'm not in my element. I'm not on my computer, and I don't know how to operate a Mac. So things seem to be going okay. So, but anyway, that said, I would like to start the talk today with Roberta. Roberta being our ambassador in Italy. Roberta, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do in Italy, and why you're so excited about being on the show today?
Yes, good morning to everybody. Firstly, I want to thank you, Eric, for this opportunity. I am an ambassador of the World Food Travel Association here in Italy. It's a lot of years that I work on food tourism, and I believe that is really a big resource for our country. And in 2017, East Lombardy will be European Region of Gastronomy. I am the director of this project, and so today I want to tell you something about this project, and this is why I'm here today, but I want to share some information too about the situation in general in Italy. And this year we worked a lot on the link between food experiences and art in Italy, and so I'll be happy to tell you something about this.
Cool. Fantastic. And Veruska, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience today? Tell us a little bit about who you write for and what your passions are.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks, Eric, for the invite. And I'm Italian. I've been living in Dublin for the past 7 years, where I am a food blogger and a food writer. So besides my own blog in Italian and English, I also write as a freelance for different magazines in Italian and mostly in English. Among them, Jamie Oliver, for example, Vanity Fair, or also some more specialized magazines like TheTaste.ie and something else. So I'm a freelance on food and tourism. So that means that when I see an opportunity, I try to catch it. And yeah, my mission is, it's more not like a mission, but whatever, something I like to call a mission, is to teach people how good and how beautiful is Italian food, and how we can learn about Italy through food and wine. And this is becoming a long journey and is changing a lot. So it's gonna be even a challenge, a bigger challenge in the future, I think. But we will speak about it later, I guess.
Now, Ireland has great food, but you must be missing your food from back home.
Well, Ireland is changing in terms of food. But being Italian means you can always find Italian places where you go and buy your things and then you cook at home. That's the joy of being Italian living abroad. You always know how to cook a plate of pasta without going outside. But to be honest with you, Ireland is changing. Food in Ireland is becoming better and better year after year. There are some Michelin stars. There is a much more recognition also on what it is good food and good wine.
Yeah.
So also communicating what is good Italian food and good Italian wine is much more easy these days than it was, let's say, 3-4 years ago. So I think it's hard sometimes, but that's the joy of being Italian. You know how to cook a dish without 2 ingredients.
Indeed. And Harold, you're based in Dallas and you run Epicopia Journeys. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, yes, I'm approaching my 50th year in the travel industry, so I've been around a day or two. About 25 years ago, I really saw some changes coming in the tourism industry and really wanted to focus on what I appreciated the most as far as travel. And basically it was art, culture, food, and wine. Actually, food and wine kind of should have been number 1 and number 2 all along, because even when I worked with art groups, university groups, they were very happy to say to me, we consider food and wine an art of the local culture. And so we're very happy to say that we've been promoting that now for the last about 25 years. But about 15 years ago, I really refocused the business and started promoting Italy almost exclusively for a while, and then have branched out to other countries as well. But primarily Italy. I usually spend about 8 to 10 weeks a year in Italy. And we're an all-purpose travel company, but at the same time, we do have our Epicopia Culinary Journeys, which is focused in doing small groups. Most of our groups are designed for private groups. We get a nucleus of groups. We work with organizations and design programs for them to promote to their members. We do have some tours that are open to the general public as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you, Harold. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about this East Lombardy region that Roberta has said is going to be winning a famous recognition next year. And I'm just pulling up the region of East Lombardy in Google Maps here so our viewers can see where it is. And I just lost it again. I had it and I lost it. So let me get it so everyone on the screen can. There. So there's Bergamo, located in the north of Italy, just outside Milan. And
yes, it's the east part of Lombardy. You can see here Lombardy. And then it's the east part with Bergamo, Brescia, Lake Garda, that is one of the main touristic destinations in Italy, Cremona, and Mantua. It's a region, it's the third most important touristic region in Italy, because Lake Garda is 11 million of tourists, of presence of tourists every year. But we have 4 wonderful art cities and 6 UNESCO sites. But it's a region very rich of wonderful gastronomy. In fact, we have, for example, 23 restaurants with Michelin star, but over 200 restaurants that are recognized by different guides. We have 9 wine and dine routes that all the year you can find offer, go to visit producers and so on. We have 25 protected origin products, 25 denomination of origin wines, And so we are very proud to present this region that is quite new in the enogastronomic region. We are very rich. In fact, we have the same products and restaurant and experience that you can find in the best, in the most recognized gastronomic region, but this is an undiscovered region from a gastronomic point of view. And this is why we decided to do this great work. And in fact, by now we are 10 main partners that are the cities, the Chamber of Commerce, and so on, and 89 stakeholders. And 250 operators that now are working in this project, because we all believe that all the world has to discover our gastronomy. And so it's 2 years that we are working together to link one with the others. And here you can see all the stakeholders of the project. And we are working together to create a lot of events for next year, and a lot of interesting experiences. And so we analyze the different kind of gastronomic tourists, and which kind of experience this kind of tourists like to find. And so we defined a lot of interesting experience for each one. Here you saw the ambassadors. Ambassadors are, you can see here that we have Cerea family. Enrico Cerea is the chef that is number 9 now in the world, 3 Michelin star, and she's one of our main ambassador. We have Maurizio Zanella with a wonderful Franciacorta area. And perhaps we can see the website of his vineyard is Ca del Bosco. And you can see, for example, this is very interesting because they have a cellar with wonderful contemporary art that is in between the vineyard. And in just 5 minutes, you can find, for example, Berlucchi Vineyard, where you can find an ancient cellar with that is really interesting to see these 2 different, yes, that is 2 different experiences that you can find in just 10 minutes distance. And it's near the Iseo Lake, where Christo did his big exhibition last year, and where some million of people came to see his exhibition. Is between Bergamo and Brescia, and that is the Franciacorta area.
Yeah, you know, I think this is fascinating because when you talk to travelers about going to Italy, I would say 90% of the time they're focused on Tuscany. You know, this area, right? Yeah. Florence, Pisa, or maybe doing the Rome-Florence route or something like that. Every so often they'll get up to Bologna. Bologna and Modena are quite popular for foodies, of course. Don't know why I just clicked on that. But, you know, people are focused on that central region so much, and they're missing, you know, places like Apulia in the south and East Lombardy in the north that are fantastic destinations. And I don't know, Veruska, can you give us a little bit of perspective from what you write about? I mean, you're probably tired of writing about Tuscany all the time, right? And there's so many other undiscovered places.
Yeah, well, yes, you're right, Erik. but there is this misconception about Italian food abroad and about Italy. So just to give you some context, last month I was at an event, a wine event, and there were this guy from Italy, and he was presenting these amazing wines from Piedmont region. Yeah. So there were, basically I was the only Italian among them with this guy, and none of the people knew where Piedmont was. So they were sure it was near Sicily, so it was in the south of Italy. So we needed to explain, no, it's not like that, it's on the other side. So there is this big misconception about how Italy it is in reality, what Italy can offer in terms of food and in terms of tourism, food-related experiences to travelers, and why there's more than Tuscany. But I have this strange feeling, well, actually, I think basically that sometimes it's also been our fault as Italians. We weren't able in the past to promote our countries in depth. So the region in Italy that was easy to get promoted was the region where there were much more link with other countries. So I mean, the moment when famous people discovered Tuscany was the best promotion for Italy and for Tuscany. So as soon as other famous people have started to discover other parts of Italy, then other parts of Italy have become much more famous. But that's a big mistake from our side and from our touristic expert side, because Italy is much more than Tuscany, and the way we communicate our country is also the way we communicate our food outside, and that's why there's also a big mistake when it comes to communicate food, Italian food. 85-90% of foreigners don't know what really Italian food is. So they don't know that we don't have this kind of food in Italy. They think that we have a strange kind of pasta we don't even know in Italy. I mean, like, for example, fettuccine Alfredo. This is the big misconception we have, which for us is just pasta with some butter in it. And in the US, people think it's a huge Italian dish. So every time they come to Italy and they come to Rome, they are completely disappointed. So I think between not being able to communicate what Italy can offer in terms of food and wine to travelers, and not being able to communicate what real Italian food is, there is this huge gap between what Italy can be and what Italy is, and again, how Italy is perceived outside. That's why Tuscany emerged. Tuscany had a huge link, had a huge, how do you say, was very, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but was always seen as the land of opportunities for foreigners, for famous, because there were loads of places where you could buy something, some land or properties without spending much. And this made the fortune of the region among the foreigners in the past. And now it's time to promote something else. And it's time not to stay focused on what people know, but what they need to know. Basically,
you know, it's interesting. You were talking about people's expectations when they travel, and you're right. It's the same thing with Chinese food. You know, we have someone on our staff who's from the UK and is used to UK Chinese food, and I'm used to American Chinese food. And then you go to China, and it's completely different. It's, oh, what's the food they're giving us? So you can imagine that when people go to Italy, you know, like Americans going and asking for pizza, and they get Italian pizza. This isn't pizza. This, you know. So, but Harold, you must see this a lot. You run, I mean, how many passengers do you carry a year to Italy?
Oh, yeah, it varies from year to year, but we're a small company, so, and we limit our groups. None of our groups are more than 15 persons. So that really keeps it small, and the average is probably around 10 or 12. So we can do anywhere from about 200 to 300 people a year. But I certainly agree with everything that's been said thus far, because every single region of Italy has its unique characteristics of the food and of the wine. And especially this Franciacorta area. I have an affinity, or I happen to like sparkling wines, but I prefer, and I hope none of my French friends are listening, but I prefer the Italian sparkling wines over the French wine, champagne, any day. The ones from the Piedmont area, and then of course the ones from the south, on the northeastern part. But the wines from the Franciacorta area, the sparkling wines, that is probably the most champagne style of all of those wines. But that whole northern quarter of Italy is absolutely full of very unique wines and very unique foods. And the thing that's so beautiful is that the local food and the local wine goes together. We have a slogan: we drink no wine that was produced over 25 miles from where we're consuming it when we're in Italy. And it's pretty easy to abide by that. But it's true all over the country. Everywhere I've gone, and there's only one area of Italy that I've not traveled to yet extensively, and that's the Val d'Aosta area. And I'm looking forward to that, because I do want to experience that. And I love this whole northern quarter, since we're talking a little bit about it. I love the fact that you've got the mountains in the background almost everywhere. The Piedmont area, oh my God, having the Alps in the background, just really, you know exactly where you are. And it's quite fascinating.
It's nice to hear you talk about different regions of Italy, and I'm glad that we're focusing so much on East Lombardy, because when travelers, they go to destinations like Florence or Barcelona or Amsterdam or now Portland, and these cities are oversaturated. There's too many visitors. And I was talking to someone from Florence recently that said that the city has become a parking lot of people. And, that's not pleasurable for anyone. So I would say that, for people who want to experience Italy, don't go to the most famous places anymore. Get off the beaten path. Go to the north, go to the south, go to the islands, and experience, different regions, diversify. And if you can get to somewhere like East Lombardy, and, you're still going to have a great time. And then you get to come home and tell your friends about places that they haven't heard of.
Exactly. Good point there. And that's what we try to emphasize with our programs. We don't try to see everything. We go to one area and we sit down and we get to know the people. We meet people in the area. We drink and we eat with the local people. Of course, it is possible now in Italy and Rome. You can go to Rome and you can buy wine from almost all over Italy. And that wasn't true 25 years ago. And I kind of liked that, because you had to drink the local wine with the local food. And it really is designed to go together. And people should do that, and not try to, when they're in Apulia, don't drink a Barolo. It's crazy to do that. You have to compare the food and the wines, match the wines and the foods with the local.
Now look at this. I'm on the Franciacorta website now, and unfortunately, like I said, Lucia can't join us. But look at all the concentration of places there.
Yeah,
amazing. So Roberta, now obviously you've done a lot of work here, in this is your backyard, really.
Yes.
If it wasn't East Lombardy, where's your next favorite place in Italy for food?
Piedmont, that we spoke before, because Langhe, Roero, Monferrato is really a wonderful place. In fact, is in the UNESCO heritage list for these things. And
which are we talking, the Piedmont region now?
It's Piedmont is near Turin, is in the west part. You can see here Asti and Turin. Yes, this is an area near here. And so you can see here Alba Bra, okay? And this is the area where slow food was born. In fact, now we have there the University of Gastronomy, and they have a lot of wonderful experiences and a lot of wonderful places. Is truffle from there, Barolo, but a lot of really interesting different experience about food and wine. That is really interesting.
That's true. I think a lot of our listeners would like to know where slow food was founded. It's in this town of Bra right here in northern Italy, and that's where slow food got started. So,
as a point of interest to that, Erik, the Slow Food Cheese Festival takes place in Bra every 2 years in the odd number years. So next year is the Slow Food Cheese Festival in September. But if you're smart, the way you operate that is you plan to spend a couple of days for the cheese festival, but there is almost always a wine festival going on somewhere in the vicinity. Asti, for instance. You have the Palio, the horse races, the medieval. I mean, you can combine the pageantry of the Middle Ages with the modern cheeses. I happen to think that the Piedmont region has some of the finest people in all of Italy. They are so open, and I am really excited about women winemakers. And Italy has a lot of women winemakers now all over the country, but especially in the Piemonte area. And they really go for the natural style, biologic styles, but they really get into a mysticism about when they plant their vineyards and when they harvest and not plowing the fields. It's really quite fascinating. And combine that with the culture. Of course, this is the kingdom of the Savoys is from this area. So this is the kingdom of Italy. The history is really quite phenomenal. And that university at Bra in that area is really fantastic.
Yes. And Turin is the city where the King of Italy was, and there are some places where the king lived, and there you can you can discover all the kitchen, for example, in the royal palace in Turin, and you can eat we call it merenda reale in royal tea, but it's not only tea, but we have a lot of chocolate because, for example, Ferrero and Nutella is from this area too, and they have a lot of interesting chocolate. For example, last week I went to Guido Gobino, for example. It's an artisan of chocolates, and you can go there to visit the production and to taste all the different kind of chocolate, and it's really very interesting.
Nice.
So, all Piedmont.
Okay, so we've talked about two regions that are both in northern Italy. Veruska, what about let's not talk about Tuscany because it gets all the spotlight. Great destination for sure, but there's so many other places. Let's talk about some off the beaten path places like the boot of Italy or Sicily or Sardinia. What do those regions have to share to foodies who want to discover the undiscovered Italy?
Well, I mean, we have a great example of a great communication campaign from a region in the south of Italy, which is Apulia. So Apulia, a few years ago, started this campaign called We Are Puglia. So Apulia wasn't very well known abroad, and they tried to make the place known not just for the sea, but for the food. So they created this amazing campaign around food and wine, and they toured the entire Europe and the US, making the products well known abroad. And now it's one of the most famous destination in Italy when it comes to food for foreigners. I mean, for Irish and English is one of the most important region in Italy. And same is doing Sicily. Sicily is developing a new communication system to promote the way Sicily is communicating is quite, yes, this is Sicily. Sicily is quite as a huge island. It's not linked to to the, let's say, to the main land, to the main country. It's just you can go there by plane or by boat, basically. And what they are doing, it's kind of extraordinary because they have loads of typical products that no one else have. I mean, for example, they have these amazing pistachios from Bronte.
Yeah.
And what they do, they are giving attention to every single product individually. Yes. So there's what it's missing at the moment is a big connection between all the different experiences a traveler can get in Sicily. But if you're smart enough, you can actually get in contact with each single producer or each single local farmer or local restaurant and create your own gastronomic path around the island. It's not structured. You have to work around the region yourself. But Sicily is one of the most important regions when it comes to food and wine. And what they do individually is, I think it's a huge learning path for everyone else because they do everything individually. So they allow people to discover nothing is organized. So if you are passionate about wine, you can go and discover by yourself the entire south of Sicily with their wines, the Malvasia, and this kind of wine. If you love, for example, much more flavory food, which is much more linked with Africa, you can go to Mazara del Vallo, Trapani, and Marsala, and bring and find your path around that area. And
that's where Marsala wine is from?
Yes, that's where Marsala wine is, and it's
made the connection years later.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I was at World Travel Market in London in November, I met with a tour operator who does tours in Sicily, and he was saying that it's kind of different from the rest of Italian food because it's a crossroads, kind of like Malta. So they have some Arab influence. So they use couscous, for instance. Mm-hmm. In some of their cooking.
Yeah, that's true. The more you go into the south of Sicily, the more you feel the Arabic and the African influence in food. Just as an example, in San Vito Lo Capo, which is this very, very small place, beautiful place, beautiful sea, there is this festival called the Couscous Festival. Every year in September, they gather people from all around the world, and they cook couscous, which is typically from Africa, from Arabian region. They cook this couscous a week, and then they declare the winner of the year. And usually it's always a non-African or Arabian chef that wins. So that means that there is this big community around a product that it's not properly Italian, but they've been so connected with another country and another culture that they made San Vito Lo Capo the city of the couscous, not just in Italy, but it's commonly known as the city of couscous today.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
We, in our association, we pioneered what we call psychoculinary profiling, and this is different foodie behaviors. And you were talking about how in Sicily, it's really more for adventurers, and that's one of the psychoculinary profiles. So if you are an adventurer foodie, you really might like to go to this place and discover on your own, to adventure around the island and discover the best couscous, discover that, this is where Masala wine comes from, try the lemons there, and discover everything on your own. I think we've made a huge discovery today that Sicily is for adventurers.
Yeah. It definitely is. It definitely is an adventure. But also, and from a cultural point of view, it's not what is expected. Of course, a lot of the immigrants that came to the U.S. Just between the wars and just after World War II, many of them were from Sicily, or most of them were from the southern part of Italy. And so that's one of the reasons that some of the food habits that we think of or culture that we think of when we think of Italian food, it's because we've had those cultural groups in the U.S. But Sicily, to me, is the most varied of all of them because of the cultural influences. But we are not, so many of us are not aware of the Spanish and the Norman, the French domination of the southern part of Italy for so long, and how that plays into the history and the union of the country. It's really fascinating. I traveled to Sicily last year, and it's a hard destination. You really have to be willing to get out and get active and do things because there's so much to do. But that Greek influence also in the ancient history is phenomenal there. I mean, the best Greek ruins in the world are in Italy. They're not in Greece.
Or in Jordan too, Harold. There's some
exactly.
Yeah.
But that cross and sweets. That's what a lot of people don't realize about Sicily are the sweets, the influences that did come from the Arabic world, and the fruits and how the fruit was involved in the sweets. I love the food from Sicily. To me,
Harold, you sound like a tour guide almost.
Well, I could do that.
And here in Chicago, and Brian was just saying to me that, I mean, Chicago is really well known for the Italian immigrants, the Polish immigrants, the Greek immigrants, particularly. I mean, it's a city of immigrants anyway, but particularly those three cultures. And he was saying that the Sicilians have had a huge influence in the Italian food here in Chicago. And I've been here 24 hours and we've eaten nothing but Italian. So I just have to.
Don't forget the Greek.
I'm not done because we don't really get that good of Italian food in Portland. Our Italian food is a little fussier and it's more stylized. And this is more kind of, I can't call it authentic because you both Roberta and Veruska, you would say no, it's not authentic. But as an American, what we envision as Italian food, the Italian American food, this is what I'm expecting, is what I'm getting in Chicago, not what we get in Portland. So yeah. Now, what's happening here on Sardinia? Anything?
Sardinia is even wilder than Sicily. It's a land that probably us as Italian, maybe Roberta can confirm, we know very little about Sardinia. It's another world, basically. They also have another kind of gastronomy. They have a totally different style of food and wine. They have this, it's an island, and it's it's the island, we call it in Italy. And they are famous for their meat and the pig, which is kind of strange because it's an island. So you expect lots of fish. But in reality, you have the east side of Sardinia, which is all about meat, pig, and very heavy dish with cheese, cow, sheep cheese, and stuff like that. And the west part, which is much more close to Spain, to Barcelona and the Catalan part of Spain, is a much more fishy place. And it's not structured at all. So you can have this amazing, on the north of the island is very fancy. You have fancy restaurants, posh places, posh people. But the more you get in depth, the more you get in the inner part of the island, the more you get lost in terms of food, because you can taste every kind of food, and you won't expect this kind of food from an island. You won't expect this heavy and rich food, this cheese that you cannot find anywhere else. And they have this huge tradition with the torrone, which is this thing we used to have for Christmas. It's a block made of chocolate or honey or egg yolk, and they are famous all over Italy, all over the world, for making one of the best torrone in the world. And again, torrone is very heavy, and you won't expect this from an island. You expect, I don't know, something like fish, monkfish, or whatever kind of fish you like, not this kind of food. And I think that's the beauty of Sardinia. It's really, 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 really wild for us as well. And it's so different from one side to another, from one city to another, and there are still loads of fishermen, loads of farmer. It's the land of the farmer, basically. So people still make their own food. They grow up things, and sometimes they sustain themselves. They don't need to go out to buy their food. They grow everything in their home, and that's why it's so different. And so it's another thing. It's really another thing. I really recommend people to go and explore Sardinia, not just for the beautiful sea, because it's one of the best we have in Italy, but if you are into food and if you are into good wine, then the Cannonau is definitely a top class wine.
So my eyes are completely open today. I am seeing so many things that I never knew about, that I never heard of before. Like I discovered where Marsala wine came from. I mean, these things. I'm tuned into the food world. How is someone who's not tuned in going to be inspired? They're going to see the advertisements for Florence, Milan, and the Last Supper, and the canals in Venice. Oh, but the canals are, we don't want tourists. That's what they're seeing. They're not discovering these off the beaten road places. So how can foodies do this? What is being done? Is anything being done to help travelers to Italy discover these hidden places?
Right. Well, Sardinia, I think, is a very good example of probably the most unknown, especially from a food and wine point of view. But you have to really realize that this culture, they were attacked for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's why they went inland. They didn't live on the coastal area, so they don't have a coastal cuisine. And I mean, there's still very primitive situations with, you can meet sheep herders with their sheep. And when you talk about, this is the true place for the adventure when it comes to Italy. The adventurer who wants to try something totally unique and different, including cheese that still has the worms in it, things like that are very, very unusual. But and the thing that's really weird about Sardinia, all that people have heard about is that northern coastal area, the Maddalena areas and the islands, because that's where the Aga Khan and all of the wealthy and the very the yacht people, that's where they've been going for a long time.
Well, it's just a short ride from here from Nice, Cannes, and Marseille to the north. I mean, why go all the way to the south, in your yacht?
Well, it's difficult. Yeah, exactly. Well, that is part of it. But otherwise, it's rather difficult to get to Sardinia. I don't know at this point if there are no flights from the U.S. That go direct, whereas we do have some to Palermo now. But you've got to go either to Milan or to Rome to get to Sardinia, and then it's the south, or you're going to the north, and getting in between. There's public transportation is very difficult. But you've got to be able to rent a car and really be an adventurer to discover this. Yeah. But the good thing is, there's some great books being written now about the food. My good friend Victoria Tavarovsky, that lives in Chicago, as a matter of fact, she wrote a very fascinating study of the food of Sardinia just a couple of years ago. We're very fortunate here in the Dallas and in Houston. One of our restaurant families is actually from Sardinia, and he's written a book about the food. So with more of that, I think you will see people beginning to discover Sardinia. But I think that's the role of people like myself, the bloggers. They are the ones that people are going to go to, you can only go to Rome, Florence, and Venice so many times, before you start branching out. And once people do that, then they really will. They become ambassadors. I have one couple that has traveled with me 9 trips to Italy, and we've never repeated anything except a day or two in Florence. So the people are hungry for this.
No pun intended, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So I think one way that we could help as well is Roberta and I have been talking about this. We're going to be launching a new consumer food travel website soon called foodtrekking.org. Not food trucking, food trekking like trekking, .org. And we're focusing on our region of the U.S. and Canada first, but we are hoping that we can get Italy on board very quickly. And the tagline of food trekking is the faces behind the places. So it's to meet those food heroes, those people that are, you know, the sheep herder or the woman winemaker that you're talking about, or any of these kinds of people that, you know, it's not about the top 10 places to go. It's not about the must-eat restaurants. This, you know, it's not about wine reviews. It's about meeting the people that make the places interesting and doing that through food. So, Roberta, we need to make sure we work hard on that and make that happen for Italy soon.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
yes.
Now, we're almost done here with our time, but I would just like to point out a few websites for people to make sure they know. So, the East Lombardy. Now, this website's currently in Italian.
Yes, but in just a few weeks, we'll have it in 5 different languages, and surely in English, but in the French, Spanish too, and so on. And so you can find there all the information.
So they can go to eastlombardy.it for Italy, if you're not familiar with that. And even if you don't read Italian right now, you can look at the beautiful pictures. I mean, I want to eat all of this. So, that's a beautiful place. And Veruska, this is your website. And so if anyone is looking for maybe hiring you to write an article, or what kinds of writing do you do, or what kind of work do you look for?
Well, actually, I'm a food and travel writer. So mostly this is my portfolio, basically. Then I have my blog, and then I'm everywhere online, mostly everywhere. So I write for Great Italian, Great British Chef, Jamie Magazine. So this is basically my portfolio, some of my let's say partner and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a food and travel writer.
Lovely. Well,
it's on the move.
You certainly do a lot. I'm sure a lot of destinations would like to talk to you. So there's Veruska's website is just your surname here.
Yep.
Aconitano. Did I say that right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, fantastic. And Harold's website is epicopia.com, and that's where you can learn about the different trips that Harold is running. And we do have one question from the audience. Is it possible at the end of the webinar to post the slide with each guest information? Thanks. I think they mean this one here. Hold on. I need to...
that you did right at the beginning.
Yeah, let me stop the share here and start the share again. Good grief.
And our website, Erik, should be updated with 2017 programs by about mid-January.
Can you maximize that for me? Sorry, everybody. I'm not the Mac guy here, so yeah, there we go. Except it's on the wrong screen. We lost it. Brian's got 3 screens going on over here. Let's just maximize the window. Yeah. Okay. There we go. There we go. We're getting it there. All right. So to the person who is asking about this, yes. This is the one. Okay. Let me make this bigger for you, Monique. There we go. So this is the information right here. So this is the website address. This is Veruska's address. Harold's is epicopia.com. And you can go to any of those websites and learn more about these people. And if anyone would like to get in touch with these people directly, go ahead and just email us at help@worldfoodtravel.org with your request. And Robert handles our service there, and he'd be happy to introduce you to any of the speakers today. So, gosh, sorry everybody, I'm getting all these different pop-ups. Okay. So I would like to thank all of you for your time today. It's fascinating. I have a renewed interest now to travel to Italy and go to some of these places that I've never been before, to learn some of these things and meet these people and see these things. So I'm really excited, and thank you all for taking the time. I know it's hard to schedule, and at least for Veruska and Roberta, it's dinner time for you. So
Yeah.
So thank you for making the time. And Harold, thank you for making yourself available today as well.
Absolutely.
And we'll be posting this on our Food Travel Talk TV channel on YouTube, hopefully by the end of the week. And we will be announcing our January date soon. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, our viewers today. And we look forward to seeing you again on Food Travel Talk TV. Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.